Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I have a video for you guys, and this is one that was requested, titled The Strength of Son Goku by SethTheProgrammer. Now, I'm not going to waste any of your time. Let's just go ahead and watch the video, and let me just check the volume, make sure everything's okay, and okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and watch the video.
Hello everyone, it's your host, SethTheProgrammer, and today I thought I'd do something a bit different. So, I've been scaling and talking about and reading Dragon Ball long enough to get a PhD in the thing, but there's one thing I almost have never really talked about, and that is my thoughts on the actual story of Dragon Ball.
Okay, hold on a second. If this is going to contain anime clips, I don't know. I mean, TV Tokyo's blocked me for having even 5 seconds, but I don't know how this is gonna go. So, you guys know that whenever there's anime clips, I like to pause it. But if I feel like, considering most of this video seems like it's filled with anime clips, if I keep pausing it every now and then, it's going to probably make this video way longer than it needs to be. So, I don't know. I mean, you know what? Here's hoping. Here's hoping everything's fine, and I'm hoping it's going to be edited enough to the point where it'll actually fall within fair use and Toei won't block it. Because again, I don't mind if they claim it, you know, to the point where any ad revenue goes to them. I don't have a problem with that since they do own the property. But where I do have a problem is where they claim it and then they just block the video from anyone seeing it. So here's hoping everything's okay. And, well, let's just watch the video and hope for the best. Here we go.
Now, I've talked about stuff in Super, such as my thoughts on
And also there's some music from the actual show in the background, so I don't know. Again, we'll have to wait and see.
But that was still more so power scaling related, but this video isn't meant to be a criticism of Dragon Ball's writing, but rather an explanation that I'm not seeing on YouTube. It's weird because I talk to YouTubers all the time about what I think of these things, or the philosophy behind the characters, or even help people make a video on it, but I myself haven't even touched it on my channel, so let's end that today. Today, I'm going to be giving you my raw thoughts on what I think of the philosophy of Goku, the pursuit of happiness, nature versus nurture, self-discovery, and the meaning of strength. By the way, I'm not saying I'm some...
Instead of power scaling, this is going to be more so focusing on the narrative of Dragon Ball, which is interesting. I'm always interested to hear what his thoughts are when it comes to the actual narrative, because you usually hear him talk about power scaling. So this is going to be interesting.
God of narrative analysis or something? I'm simply saying, as a long-time viewer and someone who's read the series like 800 plus times for my job that does have to analyze it, this is my opinion I've come to. So I don't want to get too deep into some of these earlier themes and character arcs that Goku gets into, because I feel they aren't neglected when people talk about him. I mainly want to get around the Android saga and onward, so apologies for being vague with some of this earlier stuff, but I'm going to briefly brush over it. The series starts with Goku and Bulma's journey to find the Dragon Balls. This journey is important because it allows Goku to have this extremely naive and humorous character, while also expanding his perspective and allowing him to learn about the world. However, this is also the beginning of the pursuit of happiness, and while that seems like a somewhat basic concept, for a character like Goku, it gets actually kind of complicated, as a lot of people who read anime or manga, especially Dragon Ball fans, they don't understand that a character can change or has a goal unless it's specifically stated, whereas that's not very realistic when you see a real human being. They usually don't announce their character development. They kind of just change over time, and this kind of catches people off guard a lot of the time, but I find Goku somewhat surprisingly a realistic interpretation or presentation of development as a person. But in this case, I'm going to be explaining it because obviously people don't understand that a lot of the time. But an example, what does Bulma want? A boyfriend.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I think I see what he's getting at. I know there's a lot of people out there who think that Goku's kind of boring, who think that he's kind of like a one-note character and that he doesn't change. He's the same from the beginning all the way till where he is now. And while I will admit that there are some examples that do kind of prove their point, at the same time, there's a lot of examples that you can point to that proves that Goku has grown and changed as the story went forward. For example, look at what happened at the end of the Frieza arc, where he was willing to basically let Frieza go because he was okay with just completely beating him, as opposed to anyone else would say, no, dude, you need to kill this guy now because this guy's gonna be a problem, okay? this guy, based on how obsessed he is with proving that he's number one, he is going to be a problem for you. And you don't know what someone like him could do. And Goku was just so willing to let him go, and then even to the point where he was able to give him some of his energy enough to help him escape, whereas a lot of other people would have gone with, no, dude, I'm just going to leave you here, and you're going to die with the planet that you destroyed. Which Goku almost did, but then Frieza did the whole begging thing, and Goku basically gave into it, which I think a lot of people consider to be an absolute mistake. And then you move to the Cell arc, the end of the artificial humans arc, I guess I should say. And you saw the fight between Gohan and Cell when it was progressing. Goku was shouting at Gohan, "No, dude, you need to kill this guy now." And that shows you that he has learned from what happened to him before. Whereas before, he probably would have been okay with, Cell just probably being beaten because, well, Gohan's already proven he can take out Cell at any time. Instead, no, Goku was urging Gohan to take him out now because he learned from what happened before. He learned that sometimes people, when they're desperate, they're willing to do crazy things. And that's why he was urging Gohan to kill him, but Gohan, of course, was being very, very arrogant, and it ended up biting him in the ass. And that's why I think a lot of people kind of have a problem with how Goku's being presented in Super, to where, for example, when Frieza came back, instead of Goku just finishing him off, he was so willing to, and this was mostly in the, if I remember correctly, this was mostly in the anime. This wasn't really done in the movie. In the movie, he was caught off guard, and that basically led to Vegeta taking over. But in the anime, the way it was done, and this is why I just sometimes hate the Dragon Ball Super anime, because it completely goes back on some of the progression that Goku's made with his character that Toriyama did with the original Dragon Ball manga. When it comes to Goku's character, they had Goku saying, "Why don't you leave and come back stronger and we'll fight then?" But it's like, dude, no, you know this guy. You know how awful he is. It's like, you need to take him out now. And it's like they just completely forgot all of the development the progression that happened with his character. And then it even happened in the Moro arc, and it's now even happening with the Granola arc. And it's like, this is why so many people have a problem with the Dragon Ball Super anime and the manga, or just Dragon Ball Super in general, because there's so many moments that just have Goku completely going back on his character and things that he's learned in the past with previous antagonists. And I just...
as a person, but in this case I'm going to be explaining it because obviously people don't understand that a lot of the time. But an example, what does Bulma want? A boyfriend.
A boy toy.
What does Yamcha want?
A
girlfriend. And what does Goku want? We don't know. Essentially, everyone but Goku is established as knowing and getting the things that they want, or learning they didn't really need the Dragon Balls to obtain their true happiness. So, after the Dragon Balls fly off and Goku departs from his friends on the Flying Nimbus, Akira Toriyama writes an interesting quote on the page from their narrator. After Goku says that he wants to fly off to see Master Roshi and says he hopes to become as strong as him one day after witnessing his power of him vaporizing a mountain, showing his desires for almost the first time in a while outside of just like obtaining his Dragon Ball, which represented his grandpa and meeting nice people, the page says it's going to keep going and going and going with the next chapter called The Price of Power. Basically, at this point, Goku has a pursuit now, which is to become more and more powerful, just like what he witnessed from Master Roshi. Goku eventually defeats Piccolo Jr., surpasses all of his masters, including Kami, and is generally considered to be the strongest man on the planet. Kami then offers Goku the Seed of God, in which Goku actually declines. It can almost be seen that this was the completion of Goku's
And he did the same thing in Battle of Gods.
It wasn't. Goku hasn't learned what he truly even wants quite yet, or who he even is for that matter. And this battle would also establish Goku being merciful on his opponents and introducing a new side to him. This could simply be that he didn't want to kill Piccolo because of the tournament rules and he wanted to win the tournament, with battles like King Piccolo being far more deathmatch-like a little bit earlier. It can't be denied that something snapped with Goku during this encounter, however, with him wanting to give Piccolo a second chance even after the tournament was over. I don't want to get into the morality of Goku throughout this video, but I'll drop a small sentence here or there about it, as it is important to who he is and his philosophy in the end. To solve that, we introduce Raditz. Raditz introduces serious questions that were brought up since the beginning of the series and answers them. Goku is an alien. It doesn't know his own history. This presents a few potential growths and paths for Goku as a character, one being that he realizes there's beings far stronger than he could ever imagine outside of just the Earth. He learns and rejects his Saiyan ancestry, and
So yeah, when it comes to this moment with Raditz, I think one of the things that people loved about this, and about how it just completely opened up the other world of Dragon Ball, as opposed to before where it was just taking place on Earth. And then now with this, at this point in the story, it showed you that there are more worlds out there with other races, other beings, and just like you said, beings that are much, much stronger for Goku to fight and to learn from. And I think it's the same, if you remember, as what happened back in 2014 with Battle of Gods. Or wait, no, was it 24? I think it was 2013, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think it was 2013. 2013 or 2014 when Battle of Gods came out. I think it was 2013, if I remember correctly. Because I know Resurrection F came out in 2015. So when Battle of Gods came out and the end of the movie came, when it got to the end of the movie, when that conversation between Beerus and Goku, and how it was revealed that there are other universes other than this one, and how Beerus said that some of those universes gave birth to warriors that are even stronger than us, that got so many people excited. I remember fans were really, really excited because they thought, oh my god, this opens up the door to so many possible stories to be told. And stories that take place in different universes, where we could actually see stories centered around characters that are not the main cast of characters that we've known for so long. And I think that's what a lot of people were really, really hoping for with Dragon Ball. And instead, it's been over 6 years now. Well, actually 6 years since 2015. If it's at 20, so 8 years. It's been a little over 8 years, and we still haven't gone anywhere beyond Universe 7. We're still in the same universe. We're still following the same characters, and it's just, it left so many people disappointed with where they decided to take the story. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of gave up on Dragon Ball Super, because this had so much potential, and instead they decided to play the safe route and just not expand on the world at all. There are still 4 universes that we know next to nothing about that didn't take place in the Tournament of Power. The Tournament of Power did give us a glimpse as to what the other universes might have. For example, Universe 11 gave birth to Jiren, which is like a guy, like, you already know how strong Jiren is. You don't need me to tell you that. You don't even tell you how strong it is. How strong he is, excuse me. And it's just, that was all we got. We still never went to those universes. We still don't know what they're like, what kind of people that they have, the stories that could have been told. For example, I think a lot of people would love like a Jiren story to be explored more. I mean, I don't think anyone would oppose an arc that has Jiren as the viewpoint character, where we get to follow him and get to learn more about him. Maybe he finally finds that thing that, killed his master and his family and his the other students. And again, so many possible things that could have happened, but we never got them because they just want to play safe and stick with Goku and Vegeta, because it's the Goku and Vegeta show.
The question of nature versus nurture begins for the reader. Nature versus nurture in this case being how much of what Goku accomplished was actually due to his own efforts, and not just because he was an alien. Goku is also forced to work alongside Piccolo to defeat Raditz, presenting a new concept that even the strongest in the world can't beat everyone by themselves like Goku has done in the past. Goku sacrifices himself to defend Gohan, and Piccolo starts trying to raise Gohan to beat the new Saiyans while Goku trains on King Kai's. An interesting concept here is that Goku actually tries to spare Raditz, but soon realizes that Raditz simply takes all of Goku's mercies as opportunities to
He
get
tries to do the same to him that he did with Piccolo.
The idea that the path of redemption wouldn't be so easy as stopping mid-fight against a powerful opponent and saying, it's okay, you can go now. This would lead into Goku versus Vegeta, with Vegeta, the super elite Saiyan prince representing nature, and Goku, the low-class Saiyan warrior who has trained with many masters, representing nurture. With Goku using Kaioken and the techniques he learned from King Kai, he is able to close the gap between him and the super elite Saiyan and overpower him. However, Goku still has much to learn. He still underestimates his own nature and who he is, while also still relying too much on his own individual strength. This would introduce Uzaru Vegeta, or Grade 8 Vegeta, who Goku, even with all his nurture, could not defeat without the help of all of his friends. Now, while some say this proves nature is stronger than nurture in Dragon Ball, that's not what's being presented here. The idea here is that Goku's nature is something he doesn't understand, and him not understanding himself is actually holding him back. For example, if he knew about Uzaru's and didn't fear his own nature as a Saiyan, facing Vegeta might have been completely different. This was even remotely implied a few times during the King Piccolo arc, when it was implied that Goku's true potential is still something hidden inside, represented by the Uzaru within. However, once again, Goku is satisfied and even spares Vegeta, knowing that he would never be happy if he let someone stronger than himself slip away like that. Goku also spares Vegeta due to a few things, such as Piccolo's redemption arc starting to come full circle, Piccolo saving his own son, and Goku thinking that Vegeta, now unable to fight back and having fully lost, might take his mercy more seriously than Raditz.
Well, that's one act of mercy that did end up paying off at the end.
In Dragon Ball, and this is a common mistake I see all the time, is that when a thread begins for a character, whether it be nurture versus nature or the pursuit of happiness and so on, it doesn't just stop because a new arc begins. This isn't a movie. It's a long, ongoing, weekly series that needs to be looked at as such. Anyway, the story would lead into Namek and Frieza, where, guess what? The Super Saiyan is now a focus, which I'm sure some of you are starting to see where this is going. Basically, the idea here now is Goku isn't just nurture. For him to become truly strong,
also starting to accept his nature.
Both nurture and nature. This is a concept that Vegeta obviously struggles with and fails to realize for quite a while, but this isn't about Vegeta. This is actually fully presented in this arc, where Goku takes King Kai's advice about how Saiyans can easily adapt to gravity and begins his gravity chamber training. I'll quote the narrator here, in which he says, "Around and around he goes, working his body and ki almost to death, and then refreshing himself by eating the sensu, as the 7 beans given him by Master Korin are already down to 3. Whether he realizes it or not, Goku is living and reliving one of the primal cycles of the Saiyans, gaining strength by facing and overcoming death." End quote. I think it's critical to note this, as it's the first display of Goku utilizing both his nurture and nature to become more powerful, whether he even directly realizes it or not, as the narrator implies. Whereas Vegeta, in the same arc, you'll notice, simply spams his Saiyan Zenkai ability, which is essentially the Saiyan's ability to grow stronger after being brought to near death, which is literally Vegeta abusing his nature, which he has always done. Goku, after finally utilizing his nature and his nurture, becomes so strong that Vegeta thinks he not only surpassed Saiyan strength entirely, but might actually have become a Super Saiyan. During the Frieza battle sometime later, Goku is forced to don the mantle of the final Saiyan and the Avenger of his race, not only donning this mantle, but also blatantly transforming into a Super Saiyan, a status revered among his race as only a legend. With Frieza's malicious taunts, Vegeta's tears, and the death of his friends who weren't enough to help him this time, Goku accepts his nature and completely overpowers Frieza. Now, while I'm not saying that Goku would have to say, "I'm a Saiyan," to defeat Frieza or something, I'm simply saying that that's what is happening on a deeper level than just some raw fist-fighting Chad alien battle. Some think that Goku didn't accept his Saiyan nature completely until the Broly movie, where he tells Broly to refer to him as Kakarot.
I mean, that was a cool
if you
moment,
think so,
but
that's
he
fine.
accepted it long before then.
Subject. However, it can't be denied that he is now fully utilizing his nature and nurture qualities in this battle, and thus completing that cycle of character development for himself. After Frieza, Future Trunks arrives and tells the Z-Fighters of the androids, beings that can even take down Super Saiyans with pretty much no problems, a force that should exceed what Goku has gone through so far. Goku is also informed that in the future, he will die of a heart virus, one that is not curable at this time and is pretty much destined for this fate. Although Trunks provides an antidote from the future, Bulma and the others think that destroying the androids before they become a problem is the right course of action, in which Goku interjects saying, "We haven't even seen them do anything bad yet," which is true. We haven't seen them do anything bad yet, so why are we taking the words of a stranger from the future to kill these people? This is later debated about by Kami and Piccolo as well, in which a whole chapter is dedicated to showing showing the androids aren't actually all that bad of people. In the manga, they kind of butcher this concept by having them like fight with people and like kill people and stuff.
Okay, he said in the manga, but I think he meant the anime. Yeah, he even sorry, I just realized he even corrected himself with this. Yeah.
The manga, they kind of butcher this concept.
Okay, see, it's because of things like this that sometimes people will tell you, instead of watching the anime, just read the manga, because the anime will sometimes completely ignore what the writer was originally going for. Like, for example, this right here, what you see. What Toriyama was trying to say, if you read the manga, is that the androids themselves aren't really all that bad, because if they were, they would have just killed the Z Fighters when they had the chance, but they didn't do that. They only fought them because they're the ones who challenged them. 18 could have easily killed Vegeta, but she didn't do it because she as 17 and 16 are not bad people. They're not the same androids that you saw in Future Trunks' timeline. And this is why sometimes the anime will piss me off, because it completely ignores what the manga originally, what the author originally intended with the manga. But there are some cases, I will say, where the anime does do a better job than the manga, because now this could be for many different reasons. Maybe it's because the author didn't think of it originally and then was speaking to the anime staff and said, hey, when you get to this moment, could you maybe do it like this, because I originally wanted to do it like this, but you know, it just didn't at the time, because the idea didn't come to me at the time. For example, just to use Dragon Ball, the moment when Gohan turns Super Saiyan is one of my favorite moments. Not Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan is one of my favorite moments in the anime, because it explores Gohan's sense of inferiority and how his anger at himself for always coming up short, how every time his friends were in trouble and he wanted to help them, he couldn't do it. And he hated the fact that he was so weak that he couldn't help them. And that anger at himself is what ends up triggering the transformation. But in the manga, it was just a one panel. It was just done in one panel, and then they just moved on. Like, Toriyama didn't even expand on that at all. Now, maybe he talked to the anime staff and told them about all of that, or maybe the anime decided to add that by themselves. The people working at the people who were working on the anime at the time, with the staff at Toei. Again, I don't know, but all in all, I will say I do prefer the anime, how the anime did it over the manga. That's one of the rare occasions where I think the anime did a better job than the manga. But overall, I do think that the manga is the right way to go when it comes to the actual story, if I'm being honest. And he just gave a perfect example. And there was something else I wanted to say. What was it? Shit. What did I want to say? It'll come to me. Maybe it'll come to me then, and I'll say it.
By having them like fight with people and like kill people in self-defense, but in the manga it's way more subtle, and they are very peaceful in the manga compared to the anime. Cell is then introduced. Cell, a being who is the combined genetics of the past generation of fighters with the ability to use their keys and techniques, with Goku soon recovering thanks to the heart virus's cure, which, by the way, I really liked the whole Cell's key becomes whatever fighter's techniques he was using. I really kind of wish they didn't drop characters saying that all the time. Anyway, this here is a huge foundational point for Goku as a character and for everything he will become. This event will put a new idea of Goku being able to fade from this world at any time, something the Dragon Balls won't ever fix, something he can't overpower with his Super Saiyan form, something that can kill him from out of nowhere and there's nothing he can do about it at any time. He basically gets lucky and someone comes from the future to give him a way to solve it, but he is powerless against this event. He also now recognizes that due to his presence and his past actions, the world is being affected in a negative way, in which Future Trunks' entire timeline may have been destroyed due to his actions as a child when he destroyed the Red Ribbon Army. This begins the hunt for a successor. Now, this doesn't snap with him right away, but when he sees Gohan training and quickly surpassing him, a half Saiyan with more potential than anybody who has been fighting since he was pretty much a toddler, a fighter that can surpass Goku, he realizes that he has found his potential successor. And what better way to test this than to have Gohan duke it out against Cell, a being who represents the entire last generation before him. It's even implied that Cell doesn't even have the genetics of Gohan. It's literally only the past generation. You can say that this is one of the reasons Goku actually gives Cell a senzu bean from during the Cell games, but Goku has made many mistakes with his decision.
And
the first of his mistakes, most notably,
he ended up making the same mistake in the Moro arc,
is Goku's lack of understanding and lack of emotional sensitivity. This isn't something I really want to talk about here, but it's generally one of those moral compass debates people always have. Goku is later shown with development in this area, most popularly in the new Broly movie, where he can sense that Broly isn't a bad person, rather than blindly trying to hope he isn't bad like with many other fighters or villains. You'll also notice throughout the series he doesn't really care as much about true villains, such as Zamasu, not trying to redeem them as often. Although in Super there isn't much room to show this, since most of the antagonists he faces aren't even necessarily bad people a lot of the time, more so just kind of nihilist like Hit, who is just an assassin fighting in a tournament under orders from a god of destruction, or Jiren fighting for the sake of his universe, and so on. The next mistake I feel is the most pivotal to the narrative I'm trying to construct for you guys, and that is Goku failing to realize that Gohan isn't the answer he is even looking for anyway. He is not the one who will save everyone and take his place. Goku eventually helps Gohan's confidence and cheers him on from the afterlife to assist him in destroying Super Perfect Cell, a fighter who recently achieved a massive Gohan-like power-up, and after destroying Perfect Cell, Goku doesn't want anybody to revive him, thinking he is the cause of many fighters coming to Earth and the burdens the Earth has to face, using future Trunks as kind of a gauge. Once again, Goku is focused on himself, but at least this time he's thinking of the greater good and of others, regardless if this is actually a good or bad thing for the planet. In the Buu saga, we have a theme of the mortals surpassing the gods, and a being who destroyed those gods, Majin Buu. At the start of this arc, we are introduced to an older Gohan.
Okay. Since he brought this up, I think this is a perfect time to bring up what I wanted to say before, but kind of forgot. When I talked about how the reason why I love that moment in the anime. Now, again, you could dismiss it because this was anime only. The reason why I kind of hate what Toriyama did with Gohan in the Buu saga is because, you know, Gohan being okay with just letting himself, you know, sort of get weaker over time, to me, just I didn't like it, because in a way there's a lot of it that doesn't make any sense, because when he knows that Goku isn't there to basically save everyone, that right now basically the Earth is relying on him. You know, Goku decided to stay in the afterlife and leave Earth's protection to him, and that to me is kind of the reason why it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Gohan to just be okay with letting himself get weaker. And I never liked this. I mean, now, okay, I understand Toriyama saying that he changed his mind about Gohan being sort of, you know, the star of the show, now that Goku's been kind of written off, at least for a little bit. And then changing his mind, realizing that, okay, no, maybe Goku's better, and finds a way to bring him back. Okay, fine, whatever. I can kind of be okay with that. It's just the way he did it, is kind of where I sort of is sort of where he kind of loses me, because again, like you just spent time making Gohan look so good, and then literally it felt like 5 seconds later you just decided to completely undermine what he went through. Just completely undermine his development to the point where he basically ends up regressing. And before someone says, well, him focusing on his studies make sense because that's what we want to do, okay, that's fine. But at the same time, are you telling me that he couldn't have found a good balance between his studies and his training? Again, the world is relying on him to basically protect it. And him being okay with just letting himself get weaker, knowing that based on past experience, there's always going to be a new opponent to fight, and that new opponent will be vastly stronger than the opponent you fought before. And you would think, knowing that, he would take that into consideration and think, okay, yeah, I need to keep up with my training, because you never know when someone might show up that's, gonna just put the previous enemy to shame in terms of power. And I just I don't know. To me, I guess you could say I'm still a little salty about the fact that Toriyama never really gave Gohan a chance to really be the sort of star of the show. He kind of just, if I remember correctly, in the manga, it was only like one or two chapters before he just immediately changed his mind and decided to bring Goku back. And it's like, dude, you're telling me you couldn't have at least given him like 10, 15 chapters at least? You just, two chapters, that's all it took for you to change your mind? You know what? Whatever. At this point, I'm kind of beyond being mad about it. At this point, it's whatever. I've accepted it. It is what it is. What can you do?
On, and a rumor that Goku will return to Earth to participate in a tournament is announced. This is more than likely Goku testing his own progress from the afterlife and to see how his friends are doing without him, especially Gohan. Goku also meets Goten and Kid Trunks, who he learns have massive reserves of potential higher than anybody he's ever seen, reaching a level to give even Android 18 and Gohan a hard time as just some tiny kids.
I mean, Gohan wasn't really taking it all that seriously.
Smackdown by Spopovich, gets aggravated and unleashes his state beyond Super Saiyan against Kibito, the assistant of the Supreme Kai. Although, to everyone's note, Gohan doesn't seem as strong as he was against Cell. After Gohan's energy is stolen by Spopovich and Yami, the Z Gang chases after them to find out where Babidi is under orders of the Supreme Kai. Here, they meet Dabura, a fighter that even reaches a level on par with Cell from 7 years ago, possibly even greater, and we get to see Gohan face him one-on-one. To everyone's dismay, Gohan is weaker now than he was in the past and cannot seem to defeat Dabura, which agitates Vegeta and somewhat disappoints Goku. Of course, this means Gohan as a successor has somewhat lost its way, and even someone like Vegeta is probably stronger than him now. Not to say Vegeta is weak in Goku's eyes, but when it comes to the ever-needed rise of competition and powers, Vegeta doesn't exactly come off as the gold medal a lot of the time. Vegeta himself even notes this when he feels Goku's insane power spike versus Yakon, and decides to concede his body to Babidi in order to fight Goku and prove he is of that level, and for many other reasons. But even then, Vegeta still falls flat, and Goku doesn't even go all out against him in their battle. Goku also learns that Vegeta was massively amped on top of this, which is probably even more disappointing. Although Vegeta was able to reach Goku's ascended Super Saiyan level at the end of the day, or Super Saiyan 2, with all of these shenanigans, he still wasn't Goku, who was withholding a power that could even rival Majin Buu himself, Super Saiyan 3. So if anything, all of this only justifies Goku's opinion of the successor even further, and that Gohan has failed in that regard. Goku displays a power on Majin Buu's level, if not greater, and actually decides to spare him for the sake of the next generation. The successor is still on Goku's mind. However, now he has a new target, which are Goten and Trunks. With their potential combined, they'd surely be unstoppable, and what better way to display this than with the fusion technique, which combines two fighters together and multiplies their powers exponentially. The new fusion, Gotenks, was strong, and was even able to obtain Super Saiyan 3, which took Goku his entire life to learn. It's almost a contrast to how Goku used to treat Master Roshi back in the day, obtaining Kamehameha almost immediately. Easily surpassing Vegeta and the others, Gotenks takes on the new Super Buu, an even more powerful version of Majin Buu than the others so far, and can actually toy around with him. But Gotenks is childish and fails to finish Super Buu off, running out of time due to his lack of knowledge on Super Saiyan 3 and his time wasted goofing off. Gotenks wasn't a warrior like Goku and Vegeta at the end of the day, He was just two kids put together. But, to Goku's disbelief, a way to draw out all of his son Gohan's latent potentials was now possible with the Elder Kai, a Supreme Kai that the God of Destruction Beerus had sealed away long ago in the Z-Sword that Gohan had saved. This would be the ultimate test. Surely, Gohan, with all of his potential that surpassed everyone else's, said maybe Goten and Trunks, brought out to its limits, could defeat Majin Buu. After all, he wasn't a child like Gotenks. But Gohan, when stronger than everyone else, becomes arrogant.
Okay.
And this is described...
Okay, I gotta talk about this for a second. So, this is something else that Toriyama did that I really didn't like, because it made no goddamn sense. So you would think that after what happened with Cell, and after learning how your arrogance can end up biting you in the ass, you would think Gohan would have learned and thought, okay, yeah, I probably shouldn't get arrogant anymore because look at what happened the last time I did. Instead, no. Instead, he gets arrogant again, and it ends up biting him in the ass again. This is why I both. You know what? No, not even both. I hate this. I genuinely hate this moment. I used to like it. This used to be one of my favorite moments in all of Dragon Ball. I hate this moment now. I genuinely can't stand it. This moment makes no goddamn sense. And to me, it's just. It's like Toriyama just completely forgot what he did with the character. And it's just, again, if you wanted to have it to where, Boo sort of tricks him into escaping and then just waits for Goten and Trunks to fuse and absorbs them and Piccolo and adds their power to his own. Okay, fine, but you could have done that without making Gohan look like he just completely forgot what happened before, without completely regressing his character. And it's just, you know what, I don't care if there was some thematic element behind it. Maybe there was, but it doesn't stop it from being just a complete moment of character regression. And I can't stand it. I honestly don't know what else to say about this. It's just, I get mad every time I think about it.
Stronger than everyone else becomes arrogant. And this is described in Super during his retraining with Piccolo. However, against Super Buu, he takes it too easy. Sure, he doesn't have a time limit like Gotenks, but his arrogance has consequences. Taking it too easy on Buu, he underestimates his ability, and Buu absorbs not only Piccolo, but Gotenks as well, who Gohan allowed to fuse to re-challenge Buu, feeling he had everything under control if things went wrong. While many feel this is a bad character moment for Gohan,
it is.
And I'm not necessarily disagreeing, this isn't the focus of what's happening. The focus is that Goku is relying too much on his successors and individuals. Eventually, even Gohan with all his potential is absorbed alongside Goten and Trunks. There is nobody left to face Majin Buu but Goku now. But Goku, having tried too hard to allow other people to take him down by themselves, only succeeded in allowing Majin Buu to surpass him. Vegeta eventually appears, and together they form Vegito. The two greatest masters and rivals in the universe stop worrying about their own strength and decide to work as one, becoming unstoppable. Even Majin Buu with all his might, and even Goku's successors absorbed, is absolutely no match for their combined strength now. Vegito eventually defuses inside of Buu, but this gives Goku and Vegeta the opportunity to sort of defuse Buu as well. This results in Buu being reverted to his true or pure form, also known as Kid Buu. Kid Buu then destroys the Earth, leaving only Goku and Vegeta alive to face him in the world of the Kais. But Goku and Vegeta dislike having to rely on each other's combined strength to win a fight, as it's almost like forsaking their own powers, and they resort to their individual abilities once again. Even as a Super Saiyan 3, Goku stands no chance of defeating Kid Buu. This is often debated about, as Goku says if he could just charge up he could defeat Buu, and Vegeta theorizes that Goku might have been holding back so Vegeta could have his turn. However, both of these are not true. We actually know in Daizenshu that Goku was at full power and could not defeat Kid Buu, and we also know that he actually never planned to give Vegeta a chance to fight him. On top of this, Goku's Super Saiyan 3 form was wearing down drastically with his newer living body than it did before, falling for a similar lack of experience in the body as Gotenks. Vegeta soon fails to defeat Buu as well, and Goku thinks it's time to call upon Gohan and Gotenks together to defeat Kid Buu. And while it's actually confirmed in some guides that Gohan and Gotenks working together with those on the planet of the Kais could have defeated Kid Buu, a new focus is actually brought up, funny enough.
Well, I mean, personally, I would say that Gohan on his own is kind of... Gohan on his own is kind of, I would say, enough to beat Kid Buu. And I say that because I know a lot of... I mean, obviously it would be easier if Gohan, Gotenks, and Goku with Vegeta work together, could easily take him out. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but I would personally say that Gohan on his own would be able to take him out because I think that the Buu that they fought in, the original Buu, the pure Buu, I guess you could call him, is powerful. I don't think he's as powerful personally as the Buu that Gohan fought. I can't remember, but I think there was something that was kind of stated to where this Buu is probably the most dangerous out of all of them because of how unpredictable and uncontrollable he is. But I think there was it's something that did say, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while, something that did say that what is it that what we call Super Buu, technically Super Buu is a made up name. It's just Majin Buu. That's all his name is. Let's call him the tall Buu. The tall one is, I think, more powerful than what is it? Than the Buu that they fought in. Well, I guess that could be debated as to which version is stronger. I think the one with Gotenks and the one with Gohan absorbed is definitely the strongest out of all of them. And so because of that, I would say that, because of that, and proving that the pure Buu isn't as strong as the ones that we've seen before, definitely stronger than the the fat one that we saw before, that we saw first. But personally, although maybe that's probably been recontextualized considering what we know now in the Moro arc, I would still say that maybe Gohan would have done the best against him. I don't know. Maybe you guys don't agree, but let me know in the comments.
By Vegeta. Vegeta states, how about we let those we're protecting fight for themselves, and hints at the Spirit Bomb. The Spirit Bomb, an ability that combines the powers of everyone who accepts it into one attack. This ball eventually absorbs everyone's powers on Earth, including Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Android 17s, and so forth, which, alongside a newly charged up Goku, completely vaporizes Majin Buu for good, and Goku makes a wish that he wants Oob to return as a good person, or Buu. And yes, for those that haven't realized it by now, and we've been waiting the whole series for this, that is in fact Goku's wish we've been waiting to hear. His desire to face Buu as a good person. This is basically representing Goku's desire to always face stronger and stronger rivals and horizons, and the hopes of always improving. You could say that this desire was in fact what Dragon Ball was after Shenron first disappeared for the first time. Goku just didn't know it's what he actually wanted until the end, so the series kind of naturally gave it to him and he just never realized. During this, Goku also learned that it was never about the individual strength of the fighter to save the day, or that individual strength was never truly strength, so much as it was the power of all of his comrades and friends together that were truly his strength. And looking back, it is true. Thinking back of all of his battles, including Vegeta, Frieza, Cell, and now even Majin Buu, those days of individual strength had pretty much died during the days of King Piccolo, or Piccolo Jr., and things were changing. But even then, he still had help training for those fighters. This could have been an okay place to end Dragon Ball in my opinion, but of course, we now have to get into Dragon Ball Super, and yes, Dragon Ball Super does continue these themes that I outlined earlier, although mainly only for one arc. In Super, you'll notice Goku is a lot different now, and many fans seem to be angry saying he's regressed into a stupid shell of himself, but I'm actually okay with this quote-unquote dumbing down of Goku, as in all honesty it makes sense. Goku is essentially not being such a tryhard. He's recognized that it's not all about himself and what he can do for others, but what everyone can do for each other. So, of course, his personality is going to change with his outlook a bit. Now, not to say it completely and utterly changed. He's still proud and obsessed with his own strength, but his outlook and anxieties have, if that makes sense. This is personified and solidified once again with Super Saiyan God, which by its very nature requires people to work together to achieve, and isn't Goku's own strength which allows him to surpass all others, including fusion, to face the God of Destruction Beerus. Goku not liking this is more exaggerated in the original Battle of Gods movie, but in the anime it's more exaggerated that Goku made the strengths of others his own, which is actually a pretty fitting start to Super considering how it ends. Throughout Super, we have a lot of different and new themes, such as not relying on the gods and so on, but these aren't really all that interesting. We also continue the Surpassing the Gods arc, which was in the Buu saga. However, I think the most interesting arc is during the Tournament of Power, at least for this character arc. Now, this isn't to say I thought the Tournament of Power is necessarily the best, but it continues the narrative I was presenting during the original Dragon Ball segment, whereas the other arcs don't really do it as much, at least in Goku's case. That That point in the Tournament of Power is both the Jiren and Ultra Instinct and putting a bow on Goku's character. So I've heard a lot of people talk about Jiren, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I think the level of analysis people give Jiren is shallow. This isn't to jerk off my analytical ability or anything, but it's pretty disappointing when people don't understand Jiren's concept as a character and simply, well, look at that generic backstory though, and write a red X over him and just disregard him. May 9th, 2018, the Dragon Ball official site releases an interview with Dragon Ball Super Series director Ryota Nakamura and producer Satoru Takumi. During this interview, many of the concepts that went to Jiren's design came up, including the flashy red outfits of the Pride Troopers and the hopes to make Jiren an ultra-talkative and heroic antagonist, unlike his nihilistic counterparts Hit and Zamasu. However, Akira Toriyama, the original creator, goes against this and wants Jiren to be a character who doesn't talk. The heroic role is then given to Toppo, the second fiddle of the Pride Troopers, instead. In this interview, a lot of things are brought up, including Jiren having a lot of emotional baggage, not being a bad person, and many other things. But this quote here is a very important one for me from Nakamura. In quote, while the universe survival arc may be Goku's story, I think it might actually be Jiren's story too. I think that was Toriyama Sensei's intention when he set up someone like Jiren as the greatest rival, someone who's not simply evil. End quote. Jiren being Toriyama's intended greatest rival is important, as it's once again overlooked. Most people simply conclude because he's the strongest so far and he's a good guy, but this isn't true either. Jiren is essentially Goku's dream. In their second fight, when Jiren was going easy on Goku in his blue form, Jiren asked Goku what he seeks, in which both Jiren and Goku agree they seek what is beyond strength and want to become stronger. Strength, for those that haven't picked up on it yet, is the result of all the experiences someone has gone through. Strength is essentially who you are as a fighter and person. If the way you lived and fought was right, you will be strong. This is now put into question if Goku made the right decisions leading up to this moment as a warrior and as a martial artist in person. This total journey put on the line in one fight is personified with Ultra Instinct. The color white, symbolizing all colors put together,
really white,
is perfect for Goku's design of now white hair, which represents all of his journey and experiences finally coming together as one and slamming against Jiren. The theme of strength is often confused with your raw power level. In this case, it's more of a message, a meaning that created your strength and who you are. In fact, Super and its writers go out of its way to make this very clear, and this is shown in Vegeta vs. Toppo. Toppo disregards his beliefs about justice and everything he proclaimed he was prideful of in order to obtain more strength. I could go into more detail, but this is just an example. Some consider this a powerful resolve, and while it probably is, and actually allowed Vegeta to reach Goku's lesser levels back in the Buu arc when he became Majin Vegeta, Vegeta did not forsake himself like Toppo, making the same errors Vegeta did in the past, and thus came out on top by believing in true strength, his true self. Even Jiren brings this up and constantly refers to Vegeta as a proud and respectable warrior, showing distaste for Toppo, someone who is supposed to be his friend. Jiren, who is someone who fully believes in individual strength and that if the individual isn't absolute, he will not succeed. He is what Goku thought was right many years ago. He is what he thought he wanted to be. He is what he thought he wanted his successors to be. An absolutely strong individual above all others. Jiren's story is then personified as one where his friends abandoned him because in his world, there were no Dragon Balls to just bring people back to life whenever they died, like in Goku's world. Jiren's friends died, and they died for good. Jiren can almost be described as a Goku without the Dragon Balls. Goku's whole life comes slamming against Jiren's absolute power, and while they have a pitched battle, Goku overpowers Jiren, showing his journey overpowers Jiren's journey. However, this would be contradictory if Goku won the battle alone, regardless of the symbolism, and Goku's Ultra Instinct fades away, because to prove a point to Jiren, despite Goku being stronger, he's not going to defeat Jiren because he's individually more powerful. At the end of the day, Goku alongside some of his greatest enemies and friends come together to defeat Jiren, Goku's greatest rival, thus stealing the idea of the individual away for good. Goku has now found his answer, And the answer is the strength of others becomes your strength. Jiren eventually found this strength as well after regaining his power from Toppo's calls and cheers, and with a smile and glass shattering around him to symbolically show that his box and overpuffed fixation on his own ability was shattering, although it was too late by this point and he was alone against Goku, Android 17, and Frieza, and thus lost. Goku had won all of his battles due to this point, due to everyone he's met helping him along the way, and for him to win and become an absolute power that suddenly defeated everyone on his own would be a spit in the face of his own journey. It's just not who Goku is at the end of the day, and more than likely never will be. But as I outlined earlier with Majin Buu, it's not what Goku wants to be anyway. He wants to constantly find those greater rivals, greater horizons, and never stop growing. He doesn't want to, nor can he ever obtain absolute strength, for that is his wish.
Okay, I think that's it. Yeah. So that is the video. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this was a good video. I can see why someone requested it. And yeah, I mean, look, I don't agree with what, or excuse me, I don't disagree with a lot of what he said in the video. Now, granted, some of the decisions that Toriyama made in order to keep up with this theme, I think I've already said I don't necessarily agree with. And while I get the again, I get what Toriyama was going for, but personally, I myself am just still not a fan of how it was done personally. Because there are a lot of things that don't really make a whole lot of sense, especially with this. I mean, look at what it took just to fight Jiren alone. And while I will say that Jiren wasn't anywhere near his full strength, the fact that 17 or Frieza were even able to touch this guy is absolutely insane. I mean, they shouldn't have even been able to go anywhere near him. And while, again, I get what they were trying to go for. Well, this was more so in the anime. I get what they were trying to go for. I just... maybe no, again, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with how it was done. I do like how it was done in the manga more. I thought in the manga it made a little bit more sense. But ultimately, I think both the manga and the anime did accomplish the same in that sense. But I don't know. Again, guys, as always, these are just my thoughts. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Just let me know in the comments what you think. And as I said at the beginning of the video, there was a lot of clips from the anime in this video. I hope I'll be able to upload it. If not, then to the person who requested this, I'll respond to you in the comment letting you know that I tried to upload it, but it got blocked, and there's nothing I can do about it. I wish I could, but I've tried to fight copyright claims before from stubborn companies like Viacom and Paramount. I don't know if Viacom owns Paramount or whatever, but I tried fighting them before. They kept the claim, and those videos are still blocked to this day. Nothing I can do about it, but if you're seeing it, that means everything's fine. It was able to go through. Nothing happened. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, that's the video. If you enjoyed it, I hope you remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, especially because my goal is to hit 1,000 before the end of the year. That's my goal, 1,000 before the end of the year. And to everyone who did subscribe, who helped me get over the 500 sub mark, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. I hope you will continue to support me in the future. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you for the next reaction. Bye for now.